Hi everybody, and welcome to Observing with Webb for September of 2016, where armchair astronomers figure out what they're looking at, why it's so cool, and what they should check out next. So this year, September's bringing us 4 planets, another start to fall, and some very good news for the Pequea Valley Planetarium. And before I get into the planets, the events, and the constellations, I want to talk to you just a little bit about this good news, and I also have a special request. I've been running the Pequea Valley Planetarium coming up on 10 years now, and it was 40 years old when I started, so that means it's 50. It's old. It's starting to fail, so I decided to write a proposal and submit it, along with hundreds of other teachers, to the Farmers Insurance Thank America's Teachers Dream Big grant. And we were one of the 15 finalists, which is super exciting. I was surprised. I was happy. It was great. But here's the thing. I don't get that money yet because they only pick the top 6. And the way that they pick the top 6 is public voting. It has nothing to do with the proposal itself. It has all to do with public voting. They're going to put all 15 up on a website. So just look for farmers.com/Thank America's Teachers. I'll have some links and stuff and more efficient stuff with that later. But if you just search Farmers, Thank America's Teachers, in October you will be able to see that and vote. Now it is September right now, but in October you can vote once every single day in October. That's 31 votes for the planetarium. So that's what I'm looking for. The top 6 votes, the top 6 proposals, each get $100,000 to use for their proposal. And this is where I'm asking you a favor. Can you please vote for the planetarium in Pequea Valley? I will put some more information in the description box and other such things. Oh, that's right. What would we do with $100,000, right? Really what we're looking for is I want to establish a week-long summer STEM space camp that is free for all of the students in the district. Not that all of them would come, but it's free for all of the students in the district. Geared more for elementary, and then we have intermediate and secondary students being leaders of that. I also want to improve our curriculum to get more field trips and more expanded field trips. But perhaps more importantly is we'll be able to replace the current lighting system because it's going away, it's burned out, there's very few bulbs left and they're not made anymore. I want to replace the bolted down seats. I want to replace them with cushioned, movable, stackable chairs that'll open us up to many more opportunities for gathering there. Also, carpeting, and I want to replace the jerry-rigged sound system. And I also want to refurbish the star ball. What this does is it takes this aging and ailing planetarium, brings it back up to its former glory, so that we can then apply for more grants to get a bigger full dome video system, which would be amazing. But let's get it back up so that we can at least keep it running. It would be amazing. It's been a fixture in the community for 50 years, and I really want to keep it going, and this is what I need to keep it going. So please, I'll put more information in the description. Okay? All right, let me move on to the planets for September. All right, so if we look at planets in September, in fact, let me go to like September 15th. Okay, that's a good average day. And what you're going to see is let's first look at sunset in the west. Okay, you're going to see Venus off in the west. Okay, you can just sort of tell with the W down there. Venus is going to be off in the west, and that's around sunset. It's only going to be about 10 degrees above the horizon at any point, but it will be very, very bright. You will be able to see it. You probably have about an hour to check it out. Okay? So that's one. That's around sunset. Also around sunset, and you kind of want to wait a little bit later, maybe until like 8 o'clock, you're going to start seeing Mars and Saturn up in the southwest. Now what we notice about, Mars and Saturn is they start out the month. Let me start on the first. They start out the month. Let me center on Antares here. Okay. They start out the month about like this. Mars is about 6 degrees away or so. Then as the month goes by, I'm going to fast forward through the months, or through the days. What happens is Mars moves away from Saturn and Antares, and they get much, much further away by the end of the month. And in fact, Mars is by the Lagoon Nebula up there on the 30th. But, yeah, throughout the month, Mars moves away to about 20 degrees from Saturn and Antares by the end. And throughout the month, they're visible until about 10:30, 10 o'clock, something like that. That's about when they set. So if you want to see Mars and Saturn, make sure you get out there before 10 or 10:30, and you should be able to see them in the south-southwest. Okay? Now, that's it for the evening. Once it's 10:30, you won't see any planets anymore. So if you were to stay up, you would just have to stay up, stay up, stay up, and you have to wait until the end of the month. In fact, I'm going to go to the, let's go 28th. You'd have to wait until the morning, okay? And look in the east in the morning. Ooh, a lot of stuff going on at night. And, oh, there we go. On the morning of the 29th, you'll be able to catch Mercury. And on actually the couple days before that, you'll be able to catch Mercury as well. Especially like the 24th and on, you can catch Mercury. But I would suggest looking on the 29th if you have clear skies, because the moon, a very, very thin crescent moon, is going to be right next to Mercury. That's a great time to look because the moon's easier to find. You're going to need binoculars for this to find Mercury, but it will be bright. In fact, even Mercury is negative 0.5. That's pretty bright. The scale is opposite. The next closest bright star is, what does it say? Oh, 4, magnitude 4. Mercury is many, many, many times brighter. I know the numbers don't make sense, but look up the stellar magnitude scale sometime. But yeah, so if you look on September 29th or the end of the month, you might be able to catch Mercury off in the east in the morning before sunrise. You might have noticed I left out Jupiter. Why? Because even if you go September 1st and you look in the west around sunset, Jupiter's there, but it's so close to the sun, and in a couple days it's gone. Don't worry, it'll be back in October for some morning stuff. All right? All right, let's talk about some events. So let's go back to September 1st. And September 1st is the new moon. Can't see the moon. It's not up there. It's in between us and the sun. And in fact, if you live in Central Africa, you can see an annular eclipse, one of the Ring of Fire eclipses, where the moon doesn't cover up the entire surface of the sun. So you see a ring around the moon, but you don't see the corona. But again, that is in Africa, not here. Then, if we wait until September 3rd, okay, you can actually see the moon and Venus and maybe Jupiter, but I don't think so. You can see the moon and Venus very low on the western horizon. You'll need binoculars for this, I think. The moon will be very, very, very thin. Venus will be bright. You should be able to catch them out there, but bring your binoculars for sunset on September 3rd. Now, then, if you were to follow the moon, you would notice throughout the month that it gets higher and higher in the sky and thicker until September 9th. September 9th is when you have the first quarter moon. The right half is lit up. You can see it from sunset, even before sunset, all the way to midnight, just about. And you might notice, let me get it to be nighttime here, the moon is actually close to Saturn and Mars. And in fact, let me back that up to the 7th. On the 7th, they make a pretty cool line where you have Mars on one side. Saturn is, I believe, about 10 degrees, no, wait, about 7 degrees or 8 degrees away from Mars. Saturn and Mars are separated by about 8 degrees. And it's about 10 degrees away from the moon. So they make this neat little line. And remember, 10 degrees is your fist width held at arm's length. Okay? And then the next night, on September 8th, the moon is right above Saturn over here. So you'll be able to see those two together. And then on the 9th, the moon, Saturn, and Mars make a nice triangle in the night sky. All right. Now, if you have been paying attention and watching these before, you notice that the moon, day after day or night after night, will get thicker and thicker and actually move more toward the east until the 16th. What happens on the 16th? We'll just look at the moon. It's a full moon. Technically, there is a penumbral lunar eclipse, but that's only if you're in Europe, Africa, Asia, or the Pacific. I'm not. And the penumbral lunar eclipses are not that impressive. Can't really see much. So anyway, again, let's... not much happens until the 22nd. What happens on the 22nd? Nothing much in the sky, but it is the fall equinox, and that's when everywhere on Earth has approximately 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, or 12 hours where the sun is above the horizon, 12 hours where it's below the horizon, just about. Now, there is astronomically a much more specific and detailed way to calculate that. I'm not going to get into that. Just 12 hours a day, 12 hours a night. And it's the start of fall. Then the next night is the third quarter moon. Now, remember, third quarter moon, you have to wait and wait and wait. There we go. Until, looks like 1:40 in the morning on the 23rd, somewhere around like 1 a.m., past 1 a.m. And you'll see the third quarter moon. Left half is lit up, and you can see it from about midnight, 1 a.m., into the morning, and it's hanging out right there in Orion. So that's a fun time to check that out because Orion's out there. The bow tie in the sky that's rising now, signifying to me that school is starting once again. Oh wait, it already started. But anyway, back to relevant things. September 29th. Let's fast forward there. As I said before, I believe. There you go. Mercury and the moon are off in the east. Okay, that's a great time to look for them again because Mercury's hard to find. A very thin crescent moon is hard to find, but take your binoculars out. You can see both of them together. And then the new moon is on the 30th, the second new moon of the month. There might be a special name for that. I don't think there is, but yeah. Let me... sorry, I'm rushing through this a bit today because I had that little announcement in the beginning. And got to pick up my kids soon. So last thing here is constellations. Let's say we look straight up. So I'm going to point to the zenith. And I'm going to do September 15th. Set it for sunset. If you look straight up around sunset or maybe 8 o'clock, you should be able to see Lyra the harp, which I really like. It's really pretty. You've got Cygnus the swan over here as well with the Milky Way running through it. If you have dark skies, you can actually see that. And then if you wait a little bit longer, Cygnus sort of goes through the zenith in particular, and then around midnight, Pegasus and Andromeda start coming into view. Pegasus is this great square, and Andromeda would be these two curves over here. And the Andromeda galaxy is right here. You might be able to catch it with a telescope, or maybe even your naked eye if you have really dark skies. Now, if you're the type of person who looks up when you're taking out the trash in the morning because you forgot to do it the night before, if you look straight up in September, you should be able to find Perseus and Auriga and Taurus sort of hanging out in that area, and that leads you to Orion down here as well. That's all I'm going to do for this month with constellations. I would say go to skymaps.com and print off a sky map from there. That would be your best bet. And yes, please make sure that you check back in on YouTube or check my Twitter, Mr. Webb PV, for updates on the Thank America's Teachers grant. I'm really looking forward to getting a lot of votes for that. So if you keep tuned, I will let you know more and more, and it would just be amazing if we could do that. So anyway, I'd like to wish you very clear, dark skies for the month of September.